How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the top 5 sports car releases for 2019. In this video I'm going to be running you through the 5 cars that I think are particularly interesting releases for this year, and I've ordered them in brake horsepower figures to kind of reduce bias on my side. And so because my favourite thing about the channel is talking to you guys and hearing your thoughts and basically discussing things with you guys in the comments, I decided to start a sort of topic of the week. So for every video that I put out, I'll have a little topic that I want you guys to comment on down below. In this video it's pretty simple. What car are you most looking forward to seeing released in 2019? Nice and simple. Drop it down below in the comments and we'll have a chat about it. Anyway, if you enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button, comment down below to let me know your thoughts, and share it with some friends maybe. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting us off at number 5 with the brand new G29 BMW Z4, which comes in 3 different options so far: the S-Drive 20i, 30i, and the flagship M40i that packs a turbocharged 3-litre inline-6 that puts out 335 brake horsepower, 500 Nm of torque, and does 0 to 60 in around 4.4 seconds. And before I go in depth on this car, just wanted to remind you that if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so for more weekly entertaining and informative car content. But anyway, the 6th generation Z car and a 3rd generation Z4 was introduced at Pebble Beach in August 2018, officially launched at the Paris Motor Show in October 2018, but is scheduled to hit the market in spring of this year. The car comes with an 8-speed Steptronic automatic gearbox for all 3 models, but in certain markets you can option a manual on the 20i. As of yet, you can't option this in the UK, and I personally think that's a shame that you can't get a manual on the M40i, but that's just my opinion. Compared with its predecessor, it comes with 50% more boot space so that you can take an additional bag on a nice long cruise, and it weighs 50 kilograms lighter. One thing I prefer on the predecessor, however, is the hardtop convertible roof. Not a big fan of the soft top on the G29. Maybe they'll make a coupe version of the car, Z4M possibly? Annoyingly for us in Europe, due to our EU gasoline particulate filters, we get less power out of our Z4s than people do in the US, where the B58 engine makes 382 brake horsepower instead. Despite it likely not being the highest performance model we'll see of this generation Z4, it still beat the M2's time at the Nürburgring with a claimed sub 8-minute lap time. Not bad at all for a soft top convertible cruiser. If you're interested in buying one, the cheapest 20i without specking will cost you just under £37,000, and the base M40i will set you back just over £49,000. My reasonably high spec M40i on the configurator came to £51,790, owing to the fact that a lot of the options are free, which is a key bonus. It really is a good looking car with its muscly features and sharp lines. It somewhat reminds me of a baby AMG GT convertible in some aspects, and I personally am looking forward to seeing what they come out with in the M lineup, as well as whether they bring out a coupe model to complement the convertible, but this looks unlikely. Coming in at number 4, we have a car that pretty much shares the same specs as the BMW, owed mostly to the fact that they both share the same BMW B58 engine, the 5th generation A90 GR Toyota Supra, scheduled for production in summer 2019. To reiterate, it has a 335 brake horsepower 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 which takes from 0 to 60 in around 4.2 seconds, slightly quicker than the Z4, hence its higher place on this list. Just the name Supra evokes images of watching Brian O'Connor's Mark IV A80 dominating a Ferrari F355 Spider in The Fast and the Furious, or insanely overly tuned 2JZ engines dropping 1,000 wheel horsepower. But as this Supra has not yet been released into the wild, it hasn't had a chance yet for us to tell whether or not it will carry on this reputation. The reason why this car shares its engine with the M40 Z4 is the fact that it was jointly produced by BMW and Toyota. They also share the same platform, and you can clearly see some similarities between the two in the way they look, barring the fact that the Supra has a hardtop roof. This is because during the design process, the two manufacturers came together to discuss the platform and engine for the car, and once they agreed, split up and designed the rest of the car alone until they had both finished, and came back together to discuss what they had achieved with their respective cars. This means that with both cars you have some level of influence from the other manufacturer, which is a nice touch in my opinion. Interestingly, the design of the Supra has actually been teased a few times previously. You can draw similarities between it and the 2007 FT-HS hybrid concept car, and the 2014 FT1 concept is a somewhat more ridiculous looking teaser for the Supra. When it comes to making these Supras, the first one produced actually sold at auction earlier in January for $2.1 million, which just shows the insane levels of love for the Supra name and history. Annoyingly, at the time of making this video, there is no configurator for the car, but I can tell you that the starting price is £52,695, over £3,000 more than the M40 Z4, and still almost £1,000 more than my fully spec'd Z4. To buy one, you have to join what I assume is a sizable waiting list, so maybe don't hold your breath right now anyway. On to the top 3 now, and in third place we have a car that I'm sure you're very aware of right now, the Porsche 911 992, the newest installment of one of the most popular and long-standing sports cars of all time. At the time of making this video, only the Carrera S and 4S models have been announced, in both coupe and cabriolet variants, the main difference between the models being their rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive layouts. The 3-litre twin-turbocharged flat-six puts out 444 brake horsepower, 530 Nm of torque, and goes from 0 to 60 in just 3.2 seconds if you have the optional sports chrono package on the 4S. Without this package and with the 2S, you'll be looking at around 3.6 seconds, which is still properly quick. The one point that sticks out immediately with this aluminium-bodied 911 is its width. Porsche have gotten rid of the old slimmer 911s and are exclusively making the wider models for the 992, which were usually only seen on all-wheel drive 911s in the past. This has been implemented to accommodate the wider track of the car, which should hopefully assist in handling. One point that divides opinion is that long rear light that goes across the car, which has usually been reserved for Carrera 4 versions of the car. I personally really like it as it harks back to older models like the 993 and Carrera 3.2, but each to their own. A few have commented that the car doesn't actually look too different from the 991.2, but I do feel like it's unique enough for the average car person to realise its different aesthetics. I'm aware that numerous other YouTubers have said the same little phrase, evolution rather than revolution, which is a nice way of describing the steps between many of the 911 generations, not just this one. This phrase becomes even more apparent when you realise that a lot of the car has been heavily influenced by previous models. The interior has been updated, but the dashboard is inspired by 1970s models. The way the exhaust pipes are integrated into the bumper is reminiscent of the 959, and the growth in length, width and height harks back to the 993 somewhat in my mind. These 992s are particularly expensive cars, it must be said, and the 2S starts at £93,000, while the cabriolets start at £102,000 and £108,000 respectively. The 4S, which I spec for this video, starts at £98,000, but with some desirable options I took that up very quickly to £134,000. It seems like every specable option on the car costs an absolute fortune. For example, putting a rear windscreen wiper on the car is an additional £245. That's more than half the amount I spent on buying my car altogether, which very much comes with a rear wiper. That said, I think we can all agree on which one we'd have, given the choice. Narrowly missing out on the top spot we have the TVR Griffith, which we've been waiting for since it was first teased in 2017 at Goodwood Revival. This British brute has a naturally aspirated Cosworth 5-litre V8 that puts out 500 brake horsepower, and though 0 to 60 times haven't been revealed officially, we can expect sub 4 seconds from this rear-wheel drive monster. The new Griffith is not the first TVR to be named in this way, as the first generation was released in 1991 and was produced in Blackpool all the way up until 2002, and also housed a 5-litre V8. Of course, the new Griffith ticks all the standard sports car boxes in terms of its looks, 50-50 weight distribution and general performance. However, it has one feature which puts it leagues ahead of everything else on this list in my opinion. A beautiful 6-speed manual transmission. Finally a car I can fully get behind. What makes this car particularly special is the fact that it was designed by the famous Gordon Murray, the man who was chief designer for Brabham F1 cars between 1969 and 1986, McLaren F1 technical director between 1987 and 1991, and most notably, the man who envisioned and designed the legendary McLaren F1. He was even partly responsible for the design on the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. This man really knows how to design an iconic car. This fact clearly shows with the Griffith. It retains that classic TVR style, picking up where one of my favourite cars ever, the Sagaris, left off in 2006. Even the interior remains simple yet thoroughly modern and comfortable, which some may say is a little bit of a stretch from the slightly more rugged TVRs of the past, but I personally quite like it. The brand did go bust, let's remember, so the fact that we're getting any TVRs at all should make us all quite happy. Other features that take away from that classic TVR feel include ABS, power steering and traction control for safety, and the air conditioning and multimedia systems for pleasure. Seems ridiculous that I would have to mention these features on a sports car, but when it comes to a TVR, this is groundbreaking stuff. Again, sadly there isn't an online configurator for the Griffith, so I can't tell you exactly how much a spec'd one might cost you, but the launch model starts at just under £90,000. Quite pricey, but considering you're almost certainly buying part of British automotive history, designed by one of the most successful car designers of all time, and the fact that it costs less than the 911s is pretty insane, and I know I most certainly would have one over all the other cars on this list if money was no object. Taking the well-deserved top spot in this video, we have the simply named Polestar 1, a plug-in electric hybrid that has some of the most incredible specs imaginable for a somewhat reserved-looking Grand Tourer. A 2-litre supercharged and turbocharged inline-4 paired with 2 electric motors and an electric integrated starter generator that altogether create a massive 600 brake horsepower, 1000 Nm of torque, and though 0 to 60 times are yet to be released, I can only imagine how quick this thing is going to be. Just to interrupt, as we've reached number 1, remember to comment down below the car that you're most looking forward to in 2019 as part of the new topic of the week. You may recognise the Polestar name from Volvo's V60 and S60 cars, but Polestar has actually been around since 1996 under the title Flash Engineering. It was originally created to race the Volvo touring cars in the Swedish Touring Car Championship, and over the years built numerous touring cars until it was bought in 2004 and rebranded to Polestar in 2005. In 2009 the company started working directly with Volvo on Polestar's first concept road cars, and in 2013 the first production cars were released. In 2015, Volvo acquired the brand, and in 2017 announced that they would keep it as a subsidiary, which will now be known as its own car brand that produces high-performance electric cars. This is where the ridiculous Polestar 1 comes in, the company's first production car under its own name. It is a technological masterpiece. The engine I mentioned powers the 2 front wheels, while the 2 electric motors combine to power the rear wheels, making it an all-wheel drive car, while the integrated starter generator system I mentioned helps to save fuel and make the car more efficient. It alone produces 46 of the car's 600 brake horsepower and is charged by kinetic energy that comes from braking. To put that into perspective, it is producing around 6 brake horsepower less than my Polo, and is doing so by energy from braking. It's ridiculous. Using electric power alone, this Grand Tourer can do 93 miles. I assume that's at a very boring 55 miles per hour or whatever, but still pretty decent if you happen to run out of petrol in the middle of a desert with no petrol station for 92 miles in either direction. In addition to this, almost all parts of the Polestar 1 are made up of carbon fibre reinforced polymer to keep the weight down and rigidity up, meaning better overall handling. It also has an active rear spoiler, as well as a double wishbone front suspension to counteract torque steer, and Öhlins continuously controlled electronic suspension, which automatically and instantly adapts to changing road conditions. All this in a car that remains a luxurious space to be in, with handcrafted leather detailing and a panoramic roof. Unreal. As you might expect, however, this will all cost you a fair bit. Prices are said to start at £135,000, and though my spec model doesn't have a price attached, there are only 4 options to spec right now regardless. However you want to look at it, this car has a lot of insane features, so you can't expect to be paying low premiums, but hopefully you can understand why it takes the top spot on this list. So to recap, I've given you my take on the top 5 sports cars that are being released in 2019. Remember to comment down below with what car you think is going to be the most exciting this year. I'm really open to your guys' suggestions and I want to have a chat with you guys about it. Remember to like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to see more content like this, and thank you very much for 14,000 subscribers whilst I'm here. I thought it's amazing to have hit that kind of target already. I've got 16,000 more to hit my goal for the year, and let's see if we can smash that. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.